What's up, everybody? This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, and this is MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents Spinoff Series Thursdays. Cheer! What's up, everybody? This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, your host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and this week's sponsorship is from Newsly. Newsly is a all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and read them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in ever on the internet, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Browse articles from topic choose, start playing, start scrolling, and start listening. You can follow any topics as you specifically as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, even for the Kardashians. It will find you on the latest article and you read them to you out loud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, is on there as well. Yes, it is. Shout out to Newsly for that. I started using it as my default podcast app. Download and use Newsly for free from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description. Use the promo code MrGentleman that I will also put in the description and receive 1 month free premium subscription. So you already know, y'all, download Newsly now. Check it out. Support them, y'all. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, your host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and enjoy the show. You are now listening to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents a conversation about music podcast. Chew! Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, 1/4 of the Premier Boys Podcast, and your host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And welcome to another new episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents a conversation about music podcast every first Thursdays at 12 a.m. a part of Spinoff Series Thursdays. And first thing first, hope all is well, and a happy new year. Welcome to 2024, and I am back. As of right now, we know we are on break for the main series, but Spinoff Series Thursdays are back, and for the next couple of days, I should say, we got conversation about music, date night talk, and the old school show, new episode coming in the next couple weeks. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. But on this episode, we are doing MrGentleman Album Reviews, Volume 2, where I will be discussing 5 new albums, and I'll let y'all know how I feel about them. And y'all already know what to do. Sit back, relax, and I'll be right back.
Hey, this is Beauty Bella, and I'm listening to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, and I am the host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And this commercial break is brought to you by MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. On MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, we interview many guests about their life journey, pretty much where they come from and where they at now. Also promoting their brands or whatever they're doing at the time they come on the show. We also have the host talk about personal stories about himself and everything that he's been through. And also we have fun conversation about anything music, anything old school, relationships, wrestling, and many more. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays at 12 a.m. We are also on every Thursdays at 12 a.m. for Spinoff Series Thursdays, where we have all of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast Spinoff Series all in one day, where we have a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Riding Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursday at 12 a.m. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the Pods, and many more. Or y'all can check it out on the official website of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, and tune in every Sundays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. for MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in to this commercial break of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Cheer!
Hi, my name is B Wise, and you are listening to Mr. Gentleman's Lifestyle Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And at this time, it's time for another edition of MrGentleman album review episode. And if y'all remember, the last time we did this episode, on a conversation about music podcast, I reviewed 6 albums. But this time, I will review 5 albums. But you can also hear the segment on the Premier Boys podcast. I also do a exact segment just like this, the Premier Boys podcast. But we're going to start off with the first album that I listened to recently. We got Nicki Minaj's new album, Pink Friday 2. This is her 5th studio album that came out on December 8th. I have at least, I can say 20-something songs. And then recently added 3 new songs in the deluxe version. Artists that's on this album is Lil Wayne, Drake, Lil Uzi Vert, Monica, Keisha Cole, 50 Cent, and many more. How do I feel about Pink Friday 2? I ain't gonna hold you. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this album. The album was pretty cool. Was this my favorite Nicki album? No, it wasn't. It wasn't my favorite Nicki album, but it wasn't a bad album either. Did I enjoy this album more than Drake? Yes, I did. I did not enjoy Drake's album for All the Dog, but I did enjoy Pink Friday 2. But like I said, it's not her best album, but I did enjoy it. My favorite song off this album is Cowgirl, Big Difference, Needle featured Drake, and Let Me Calm Down featured J. Cole. And if I had to rate this album, I give this album a 3 out of 5. On the Billboard chart, this peaked to number 1 on the Billboard chart. Yeah, Pink Friday 2, it's a cool album. It's a cool album. The next album that I will be talking about is Victoria Monet, Jack Raw 2, that came out on August 25th. This is her debut album. And I'm not gonna hold you. What made me curious about this album? Man, of course, I keep hearing her hit single on my mama, literally all the time. One of the biggest songs in 2023. So I got pretty much curious after that. And then on top of that, she also got nominated for a Grammy. So I was really curious after that. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm curious about this album. I should listen to it. And I heard this album. And I'm not gonna hold you. Next to Scissor, this was a really good R&B album that I haven't heard in a while. Short album, 11 songs. She don't got much features. She got Lucky Day on the album, Uja Burton on the album. She got Earth, Wind, and Fire on the album. And she even got her daughter on the album as well. And I ain't gonna hold you, this was a really good R&B album. Next to, SOS. And, the other guy, we can't mention his name, the Love album, which was a good R&B album. Can't front about that. Jaguar 2 was a really good album. And it's a really good R&B album. I like almost every song of it. Really good. But I had to pick my favorite song off this album. On My Mama, Smoke feature Lucky Day, and How Does It Make You Feel? And if I had to rate this album, I would rate this a 4 out of 5. She definitely gonna be a star. I'm not gonna hold you. She definitely gonna be a star. On the Billboard chart, she peaked at number 60, but she is nominated for Grammy. She got nominated for Record of the Year, which is really big. I'm not gonna hold you. She got really a lot of competition in that category. So if she win, that would be amazing. And she also nominated for Best New Artist. So yeah. Next album that I'm gonna talk about is Chris Brown, 11:11. This is his 11th album that dropped on November 11th. Which I like the concept of this album, that he have 11 songs on side 1, which is supposed to be in the daytime, and 11 songs on side 2, which is meant for the nighttime. This album is a cool album. He came out with 3 singles so far: Summer Too Hot, Sensation, and Nightmare. On this album he had feature Friday, Dave Chen, and Lord J. I'm not gonna hold you. I enjoyed this album better than his last album he came out with, Breezy. But yeah, this was a cool album. This was a really cool album. I enjoyed it. My favorite songs off this album is Angel Number / 10 Toes, of course, Sensation, Mess Up, and Need a Friend. To rate this album, I would give this 3.5. This was a really good album. Been a while since Breezy actually came out with a good project. This was a really good project. 22 songs, not bad. Usually you only have like 40 songs. But this was a pretty good project. We gotta give props to Breezy, on this one. We gotta give props to Breezy on this one. On the Billboard chart, this album peaked at number 9. It was on the top 10, so that's really dope. Shout out to Chris Brown on this one. The next album that I'm gonna talk about is a pretty old album, but I started re-listening to it since the deluxe version came out. We got Tory Lanez, Alone at Prom. And I'm not gonna hold you, I'm not the biggest Tory Lanez fan. But when I saw the title of this album, I was really curious about this album. This was his 6th studio album. This came out December 10th, 2021. But they had the deluxe version that just came out recently. And this album is an 80s theme album. And there's one thing about me, I love 90s, I love 2000s music, but I really love the 80s. So when I heard it was based on the 80s, this album really caught my attention. And I wanted to hear it. And I'm not gonna hold you, even though I'm not a Tory Lanez fan, this album is a really dope piece of work. He really did his thing on this album. Every song's really good. And then, like I said, I love the 80s vibe, so that would really caught my attention on this album. 3 songs I like off this album: Enchanted Waterfall, which was a Careless Whisper sample. Also, Last Kiss on Olympus, which was a Philly Belly and Phil Collins sample, and Lady of Naples. And this album is a really cool album, really cool album. I wish he got more credit for it, because due to he in jail at the moment. But this was a really cool album. Originally he had 10 songs, but now since he came up with the deluxe version that came out last month, and now got like 21 songs. So yeah, I gotta give Troy Lane a shout out for this album. This was a good piece of work. If I had to rate this album, I give this album a 3.5. This was a really good album. Yeah. But also, Troy Lane got into more trouble with this album. They got into copyright infringement with 2 of the songs that was sampled that he didn't get permission for. One of them was a song that Madonna sang. It was a Madonna sample. And his song, Pluto La Comet, was sample of Madonna's 1985 single, Into the Groove. And, Troy Lane got in trouble for that. Also, George Michael estate, he got in trouble for Enchanted Waterfall, which was, like I mentioned, Careless Whisper. He didn't get permission for that either. Like I said, aside that, this was a really good album. Yeah, I enjoyed this album. So, yeah. On the Billboard chart, this album peaked at number 28. And I listened to one more album. I was debating if I should rate this album or do anything with this album, so I decided to listen to it. And I heard Andre 3000 official first debut album, The Noon Blue Sun. And as we all know, everybody wanted Andre 3000 to do a hip hop album. Like, instead he came out with a Bradley's Flute album. And I heard it for the first time, and I finally got through the album. And I am an Andre 3000 fan, but I honestly really wish he came out with a hip hop album, though, like for real. Like, and I mean, I get it, he went in a different direction with this album. But this album is a cool album. I mean, there's not really much to say, but the titles on the album, they're pretty interesting. The titles on the album are interesting. But I mean, there's not really much to say about this album. It got mixed reviews. And for me, I would give this a 3. Yeah, I just wish Andre 3000 came up with a hip hop album. That would have been just amazing. But if the feelings come back, I'm pretty sure he would make one. And on the Billboard chart, this peaked at number 34. But yeah, and that is this edition of MrGentleman album review episode. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen to me rate the album. If y'all enjoy any of these albums, and if y'all want me to do more of this on this, let me know. Cause we got another edition coming in the season 2 finale of Conversation About Music in March. So look out for that. Thank you, and we'll be right back. Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, like the podcast and the Premier Boy Podcast. And this commercial is brought to you by the Premier Boy Podcast, where 4 public dudes where we talk about anything about the culture. Hosted by myself, Ken, aka MrGentleman, Mr. Aaron Sands from King Talk with Aaron Sands, the Star Riding Ride, who is also my co-host of the Old School Show, and Long Live the Chief Mally Mel. And we talk many topics from politics, music, sex, love, relationships, and many more. And also every topic that's going on in the news right now. Many of our topics are very controversial, and the podcast show might not be for everybody because we talk about many explicit content. And yeah, so if y'all decided to check out the show, y'all be warned because y'all might need a drink or two. And yeah, because this podcast is so crazy. I'm shocked that it had not got canceled yet. So if y'all looking forward to listen to the Premier Boy Podcast, check it out on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Each and every Wednesday at 12 a.m. You can check out the Premier Boy Podcast with myself, Mr. Aaron Sands, Star Riding Rod, and Long Live the Chief Mally Mal. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman. Have a good day and night wherever you're listening to this episode. Now back to the show. Yeah! I just want to take the time to thank everybody for tuning into the latest episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Pocket Presents. a conversation about music podcast, a part of the Spinoff series Thursday lineup. And the first official episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast in the year 2024. Y'all could check out MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series and every Thursdays for Spinoff Series Thursday, where we have shows like a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday at 12 p.m. Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Ms. Vanna B every second and third Thursday at 12 p.m. And the Old School Show with myself and the Star Ride every fourth Thursday at 12 p.m. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and many more. Y'all can rate the show 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podchasers. The more y'all rate the show, the more people know about the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ken, aka the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ken, aka the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Let's get those subscription up, and y'all can listen and watch the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast on YouTube. You can also check me out with the Premier Boys Podcast with myself, Aaron Kito Sands, Star Rod, and Long Live the Chief Mountain Mal. Season 4 of the Premier Boys Podcast, January 24th at 12 a.m. Season 4 of the Premier Boys Podcast, January 24th at 12 a.m. And every Wednesday after that, you can see the Brotherhood back together again. And if you can't get enough of the Premier Boys Podcast, check out other shows in the Premier Podverse. Check out King Talk with Aaron Sands, hosted by Aaron King Talk Sands, every Friday at 12 p.m. Check out Star Time Podcast, hosted by the Star Rod, every Monday at 12 p.m. Check out the newest Premier Podverse show, Welcome to the Trilogy, hosted by Long Live the Chief Mountain Mal. The series premiere later this month. And I am on one episode, and I can't wait for y'all to hear that conversation. It was a really dope conversation with my brother. So look out for Welcome to the Trilogy series premiere later this month. And support every show in the Premier Podverse. Save the date, January 20th. MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast 5-year anniversary, January 20th. MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast 5-year anniversary. If you want to leave an anniversary message, hit me up on social media, Ken_MrGentleman, or email me, KenYPGENT@gmail.com, and send your message there. Also, if you want to be a guest on MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast for the main series or any other spin-off series show, send me a bio about yourself and everything that you do to my email, KenYPGENT@gmail.com, or hit me up on social media, Ken_MrGentleman. I repeat, Ken, Ken_MrGentleman, GENTLEMAN, and we can set something up, because I am still looking for guests for season 7, even season 8, where we're going to have an announcement about that soon, and any other spin-off series Thursday shows. And admin of Good Pods, Ken MrGentleman. Y'all already know Good Pod caters to many independent podcasters. You can see what everybody listens to. We can rate each other's shows, and we have the charts. And that's it's time for MrGentleman Lifestyle Achievements, where we spotlight everything MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast is doing. And where we at right now, due to this recording, we are number 30 on the main charts, number 22 on the indie charts for top 100 shows. Yes, we dropped heavy because we was on break after the Christmas holiday, but yeah, for Society and Culture, we dropped to number 6 on the normal charts, and we dropped to number 5 But honestly, thank you everybody that continue to support Mr. Gentleman like the podcast in 2023 and beyond. And we know big things is coming. So continue to listen to Mr. Gentleman like the podcast, not only on Good Pods, but on all podcast platforms. And let's continue to have the show grow. And then don't forget to check out the official website of Mr. Gentleman like the podcast, www.realmrgentleman like the podcast. Y'all can listen to every episode of Mr. Gentleman like the podcast. Y'all can watch every video of Mr. Gentleman like the podcast. You can check out every guest that's been on the show, all 63 guests. You can check out the guest profile right now. And you can check out every guest appearance that I've been on. Check out my latest guest appearances with the Geeky Dad podcast hosted by Raphael. That'll be with a fun conversation. Check out the episode right now. And also buy some merch at the Mr. Gentleman like the podcast store at tpublic.com. Just search Mr. Gentleman like the podcast, or you can just buy it through the website. We have shirts, hoodies, and many more. Check out the official website, www.realmrgentlemanlikethatpodcast.com. Once again, thank you for checking out to the latest episode of Mr. Gentleman Like That Podcast Presents, a conversation about music podcast, a part of Spinoff Series Thursdays. Have a good day or night, whenever you listening to this episode.
It's your boy Dre the General, and you are now tuned in to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.